Hey guys, here I am with my Bachmann large scale. It's at 120.3 scale, 2-truck climax. I looked online, couldn't find many videos on weathering a large scale locomotive. You can find a bunch on weathering small ones. Anyway, I'm going to take you through the steps I've learned from talking to others through emails and other things of how I'm going to go about weathering this thing to make it look like it's a everyday run thing and not the factory finish. Anyway, here we are, started with the basic locomotive. Nothing's been done to it. I'm going to go ahead. I'm getting ready to mask off all the clear glass on the whole thing. I may just leave that window pushed forward. It does have sliding windows, but either we'll mask them off or either just leave them the way they are. You can remove the top of this and all the windows come out, and that could make it a little bit easier for the side windows. Also, we're going to mask off the coal load so we don't lose the shininess of the coal itself. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get it all masked off, and then we'll move along from there. Okay, you can see here I've got the top off and the roof off, and I've masked the windows on the inside, and I've pulled out the side windows because they are easily removed. I want to show you an easy way to mask a window. I'm going to do it on this light here. If you'll take the painter's tape, and I just press it in place, and I've got a piece of metal here that's rounded on the tip, and I just kind of make sure that gets down into the crease. You can see how I'm going there, okay? Just work it around. Then come back with something like a toothpick, a rounded toothpick, not the square one, and you take that and run it around there, and that toothpick itself won't scratch the plastic, but it will, in that curve, back in that corner, it will cut the tape. So you can do that for all the most of the windows. If you can get that tape in place and start working around the edges, it will. That's a nice pointed toothpick, or actually, the last one I used, I had like a 1/4-inch dowel. I had sanded down to a point, like in pencil sharpener, and just worked it around the corners, and it will get that masking tape down in there. So I'm getting everything masked off. When I get it finished, we'll move along from there. Okay, here we are. I got everything masked off and ready to go. I made sure I brushed off the engine really good. Don't have any dust on it anywhere. And what I'm going to do first is just take an engine black. It's just the flow quill engine black, and we're just going to use a little internal mix airbrush. I've got the air pressure cut down to just above about 25 psi, and we're going to just make sure I blow off the extra spot, any dust you see on it. But anyway, we're just going to go ahead and just give a real light coat. We don't go too heavy and change the color down on the bottom, but we're going to get a light coat over most of this to knock down the sheen of it and to dull it down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll do this for a minute. You'll hear the little air compressor kick in the back. I'm not going to do, I don't think I'm going to do a really heavy weathering. We're just going to do a light weathering on it. I'm going to start with the engine black. But, and what this does is just cuts down the sheen. You got Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of it, and then I'll come back and show you what I've got done. Okay, I've got the whole locomotive with a light coat of the engine black. Now I left a little bit of the color of the lighter gray underneath the bottom, mainly where all the soot and everything would have gotten to it. Anyway, I've sprayed across the top, made sure I got all the sides, actually pulled the roof off and used the engine black on the inside to dull it down. Anyway, it is done both sides. I'm going to let this sit overnight. I do have decals I'm going to put on it, so I'll go ahead and show how I put those on at the same time. Anyway, we're going to let this sit, and when it's nice and dry, we'll put the decals on and then go on about weathering the locomotive. Okay, here we are back at the locomotive. I have got all the paint's been drying for about 24 hours. Anyway, I ordered decals from Cedar Leaf Custom Decals. He makes decals for whatever railroad you want. He can do different types of graphics. I ordered some for all the locomotives I have. He even does them in color. All my letters are in white, but he also does like a full color decal. I just happened to be Beaver Creek Railroad with a logo there. I mean, one neat thing he does, when he gets ready to send them, he sends you a proof. The proof is full size, so it has everything, so make sure you can cut it out and make sure to fit your locomotive where you want. Even after you give him the kind of the sizes you want, you can make sure they're right. Anyway, you can see here I've cut them out, cut some of them out, and I just trial fitting them in their locations. What I've done here is I've taken painter's tape, and I have cut it to where I want the bottom of the decal to go. And you just have to cut the decal as close as you want it to the color and make sure that it just sits down on that as you apply it. Now, I have also, there's a little tiny mark right here on this corner that that's where my first letter will go. So I'll know where, from side to side, where I will locate that decal. I did the same thing here for the number 22. There's a small mark here, and if I get it really close to there, it'll be good enough. I just want to make sure they're nice and level. One thing it does say, in his instructions, it tells you to they adhere better to a shiny surface. Now, the last locomotive I had, it adhered just fine to the flat color of this engine black. Now, this morning I did try to shoot an acrylic clear over. He says he likes using the Krylon satin clear acrylic. Floquil and the Krylon do not match. They're not compatible. It just bubbled up all over to one side, so I ended up having to actually sand off the paint and repaint the other side. So these apply just fine directly over the engine black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my materials together. I've already, you probably can't see it because it's white on a blue background or light blue background, but I've got my decals cut out, ready to go in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the locomotive down flat, and I'll get the materials together that we need, and we'll go ahead and apply these decals, and we'll move along from there. Okay, here we are back. I've got the engine laid horizontally, and we're going to try to go ahead and put the first decal on. A couple things you need. You need a small bowl, hot water, hottest water you can get, with about a dime-sized thing of dishwashing soap in there before you get started. And you see it kind of got a little bit of suds to it. But anyway, you need to get that prepared. Need to have your decals pre-cut out. I have a stick here that that's pretty sharp. I mean, it's sharpened with a little bit of a slight blunt on the tip. You need a pointed object. I mean, I don't think you want to use a toothpick, just a little bit bigger. You need a soft brush. And so what you do first, you take your decal and you just hold it in the water. Stan says about 3 to 5 seconds. I did about 10. And then you just take it off and lay it out to the side for about, he said, about 8 minutes. Anyway, you want it to where it slides really easily. Anyway, then I take the brush, and I take and apply some of the water to the top here. Now, if you've got electronics in there, you want to make sure you keep the water from going down the sides or anything into that. But I do have, you just want to make sure it doesn't run off. Anyway, I've got my little mark here where I want to make sure the first R goes. But what I'm going to do is come in here and I'm going to start working it off the edge. Hope you can see this. And I get my R right there where I want it. And I just ease the backing off of it. You'll make sure you get laying flat. All right. Now, it's hard to see at that angle from, well, maybe not. But anyway, you want to make sure you take that and this little sharp, or this piece of paper, stick here, can kind of help you get that in the decal where you want it. I use plenty of water on it to push it and then pull it out. Now, once you get it laid down where you want it, you're going to take your paper towel and you're going to start at the edge and start soaking up that water. Now, luckily here, I got it pretty well laid where I wanted it the first time. I've actually had to put plenty of water on there and move it around. But using the tape, it allows you to give you a line to make sure that your graphics are straight and not cantered one way or another. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is just take the paper towel and just barely blot it. You don't want to rub it because you may fold your decal over. And then I'm going to dry my brush and just barely pull it from edge to edge to get any wrinkles that may be in there, any air bubbles. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and pull my tape to make sure I don't have any of the stuff over the top of the tape. And I'm going to go ahead and blot it dry again. There's something up underneath that. I'm just trying to work it to the edge. And I'm barely just rubbing it and getting that piece, whatever it is, underneath there to the edge. All right, now we'll make sure we don't touch it, and make sure we got it blotted dry. All right. That one's in place. What we're going to do is going to let this sit. You want to make sure you have it sitting where you don't have to touch it. You don't want, let's see here, can you see? Let's see if I can sit it over here. Okay. You can see that it is in place. Now that's not sitting on a level surface, a lot heavier at the back, but it is perpendicular to the train itself. So anyway, what I'm going to go ahead and do is, since I'm working on the side, I'm going to go ahead and apply the decal here and up on the dome here. So I'm going to get those done. I just want to show you how easy that was to apply. Like I said, if you do need to move it around, you can push it around with the stick or the brush. Just if you have plenty of water on there that's got the dishwasher detergent in there, it'll kind of help it slide around. But once we blot it, it's pretty much stuck. So anyway, I'm going to get these others on, and then we'll be back. Okay, here we are back in the paint room. The decals have set just under 24 hours. They were really nice set. Nothing was lifting up on the edges anywhere. So the next thing you do, and I've already done it to this side, I haven't done it to the other, is when you know they're good and dry, you take Tester's Dull Coat. I get these cans at the local Hobby Lobby. Anyway, I take that and I take a piece of foam and I lay the engine on its side. And what we do is we give a good light coat over it and we, let that sit. Now it's kind of damp outside, so I do have a little heater I blow across it, and that kind of dries that up a little bit faster. After that first coat's on there, then I go with just a little bit heavier coat. Now I have sprayed across this, and you really can't tell the dull coat where it was wet over this and where it comes to. You can't see a parting line, in other words. So, but you want to put a little thicker coat the second time. It kind of helps the decal blend in a little bit better. You can barely see the edges of the decal. On the directions it says put several coats of the clear. So I have already cleared this, the lettering, and the one up here on the dome. But anyway, I'm gonna get it ready. I'll flip it over and maybe I'll show you how I did the put the dull coat on. Okay, here we are on the other side of the locomotive. I haven't sprayed any dull coat on this yet. What I do is I take the can, I shake it up really well, and then before I spray it, I make sure I clean the tip of it off just before I shoot it, and I also just test spray behind it or something just to make sure I'm good and clear. And anyway, all we're doing is putting a light coat, and we want to flow on there and give us a good clear coat. And I don't know if you can see it, but the decal itself gets kind of bright until the paint soaks into it. So I've got that one done just real lightly. See, just a couple small sprays across it. Did that one too, and then we'll do the one across the top here. Hands get a little bit low. Now I did put some paper towels in the way here so I don't get overspray everywhere, because you end up putting several coats on there, and I want to make sure that I don't have just load up the rest of the area. So I've got several light coats. Now I'm going to turn my I got a fan here that I run just a low heat across that. It's kind of cooler here. The low heat just kind of helps that dry. Once this is dry, I'm going to go back and I'm going to put one more nice clear coat over the whole thing again. It kind of blends in the numbers where you've cut them out to the rest of the side. All right, I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll continue on from there. Okay, here we are back. I've got the dull coat on over all the decals. Now we got it more or less just a dull black finish over the whole thing with the decals on it. Now here's where I come back, and I am using a grimy black. I put it on a turntable here so I can get around to it. And I just start at the top and work my way back, and then I just work my way down a little bit, and just using the grimy black to give it an off color so it's not so dark of a black. And you just want to have it where I'm using about 24, 25 psi, and we're just going to start just blowing it back like it's coming off the top here. Get it darker in the middle, or more paint in the middle. Or just lightly coating over the decal to kind of help it blend in a little bit better. Still see the numbers, but it's going to be more of a dirty area. right here in front of the windows. Okay, got most of it. You can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's a lighter black gray going across the top there. Now I'm just going to work my way down, just some real light, nothing real heavy. Shoot. And we'll try to blend our numbers in a little bit here on the sides. One thing you do need to do if you're going to use your airbrush for a long time, you need to keep some thinner here and every now and then clean the tip out so you don't get any splatter. Just barely hitting this. Now you do want to get inside. You can see I've got the coal load covered. I'm just hitting this inside a little bit. And you see that I've added a little bit, it's really toned down the number of the locomotive. Now on the back, you're going to have air that flows over the back, so it may be just a tad heavier back in the back here. Now I'm hitting the trucks here, just the edges of them all the way around. There'll be I mean, you can actually go back with just grime and hit an overspray of them, but I'm going to hit them with a dry brush here a little bit. They should be a little bit lighter than the top because you're going to get dirt and everything that comes up onto the truck itself as it moves along. Okay, I've gone back over with that gray. Now, I've really lightened it up. You can see this, well, I hope you can see with the lighting in here. It's got a little bit lighter than that, still that dark gray. I have gone back over the numbers around the edges of them, and they blend in a lot better to the sides of the train or the locomotive. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll come back to the next thing we'll do. One thing I did do while the roof was off, I still don't have it glued back in. I did come in here inside. Let's see if I can get this down. I shot the floor while I had the roof off and I had it on the side. I shot the floor with a grime color, just that it's more like a whitish color grime. Then, and of course you're going to get overspray up here on the back head, everything like that. I went back and I took paper towels and cut them strips and laid down into the floor to cover up what I had put in there, and then I resprayed the engine black all over the back head and the walls and everything, kind of cleared it up. And then you can see it's got a brown color. I went back with some weathering chalks and went ahead and got that area some weathering in there, like they've been walking on it a lot. I still need to go back with a little bit more black. I'll finish up some more in there before I get all the stuff done. But anyway, I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll come back and we'll move along with some dry brushing on it and try to finish this up. This is not going to be a really heavily weathered locomotive, but it will be. It will look a lot better than the stock one did. Okay, here we are back at the locomotive. I have gone ahead and I did one side. I've actually used the dry brushing technique on this side, and this side's pretty much finished. You can see the rust and the lighter grays and how things stand out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the locomotive around and show you and go through how I went about this. But anyway, I hope you can see with the lighting, the rusting, just the different things that pop out from the locomotive itself. But anyway, I'm hoping when you turn around you'll see the difference. Okay, that side has been pretty much finished. We can add a little bit more detail if we want to, according to how weathered you want it. But anyway, this side over here, you can see is much darker. There's, I mean, even though it's faded, it's still darker than the other side. And we're getting ready to go ahead and start dry brushing this side to make things look a little bit better. I do have the windows in. I put those in place. I've got the top screwed back on. But anyway, I'm gonna get my materials ready. I'm gonna move the camera over so we can get a little bit, so you'll be looking at it from the side a little bit, and then we'll move along from there. Okay, here we are on the unfinished side of the locomotive. I'm gonna show you the materials you need. You can use whatever color paints you want. I'm using just plain acrylic paints. I got a khaki tan, which is a lighter tan. I don't use much of that. I got a Mississippi mud. This is Americana. I also have some Anita's all-purpose acrylic paint. This is just a gray. It's the medium type gray. I have these are two soft bristle brushes. There's looks like what a 3/8 to a 1/2 inch one, and then probably less than a 1/4 inch one there. You also need a good old sock or something like that. But anyway, the way you start on this is our primary color here is going to be the Mississippi mud, and I just take, let's see if you can, I just put just a little bit here. I use this big piece of wood as my palette. We're going to work with the larger of the two brushes. The little one's for small areas. But anyway, I'm going to fill the brush on both sides. I'm filling it all the way up, and I start dabbing it out. Then I'm going to take the old sock, and we're going to just clean all that off. We're going to clean it off till we don't see it leaving any paint. And what this is called dry brushing. So we've got all the paint that's just coming out, and it looks like there's nothing on the paintbrush. Anyway, we take this then, and we just start working our way down the locomotive. And you can see, hopefully you can see, that it's already starting to pick up some of the highlights on the rivet heads. Anyway, this dry brush just leaves very, very little of the paint. You're just getting parts of the paint. We're just trying to go, most of your, you know, the water always runs down here, so you're trying to go straight up and down with it. And it lightens the locomotive. It also catches all the rivet heads, so they really stand out. Now I have to go sideways to get to some of these. But anyway, just keep working with it, and then we go back and we're going to fill the brush up. Well, you can't see it, but I'm down here. I'm filling the brush up again, just like we did that time. Come back in here, going right back over it, and we're going to clean that out until we have the brush where it looks like there's nothing in it or on it. Let's see if I can get this around here. Okay. All right, we'll try this again. We'll come up here. We're just going to start working our way up and down. And it will lighten up this area all around it. We're going to follow the rivets all the way around. Just make sure we hit them all and lighten it up. And you're going to work your rivets on top too. And you can do this just keep doing it till however much weathering you want on it. Okay, we're going to work our way. We're even going to go down here and do the trucks also, because it just hits the highlights. It brings out all the detail. I just keep going back. Clean it up. Now we will work. I'll try to do the most with this first color we got here. Now we just come up here and we're going to hit. Well, I hit that thing. But it brings out all the, you can see it brings out all the edges. Anything that touches it, it makes it pop out at you so you can see it better. Now, on the bands here on the boiler, if you go sideways, you'll hit those and it makes them stick out a little bit more. Because it's all the edges and the corners is what's picking up the paint, that little bit of paint that's left on the brush. I'm going to do all our lines, all the rivets up here, all the rivets around the base of the smokestack. And you can tell when it's not leaving anything at all, you need to go back and reapply your paint. You see there we're just barely adding any color to it at all. And we're going to hit everything. Everything goes straight and perpendicular to the ground, because that's how your water's going to run. And we're going to hit all the bolt heads, everything. I've seen a lot of people on smaller locomotives do the washes, and I just had never been comfortable with doing washes. And I learned this, I talked to a friend of mine online, and he was describing this technique, and it has worked. I did one locomotive, and it worked so well. I have about 4 or 5 more to do. And you can really control where your colors go using this technique. I've done most of the front. I did all that when I was doing the other side over there. But you can see how white that 22 up here was when I first started. It has dulled it down, and you can go back in there and just according to how much you do, you can dull it down even more. Every time you see me get away from the model, I'm adding more paint. You see where it comes across that dome, where it's hitting it more, it kind of adds a highlight to it. Get back over here. Kind of give it a good rub here. It gives a little bit of brown, like it's got a little bit of rust maybe coming up on it. All right, now I'm going to swap over and use the gray. There's a bunch of different grays you can use. Just like I said, this is about a medium gray. And all we're going to, this will lighten up the sides even a little bit more, but we're going to do the same thing. I did not even clean the brush out more than just rubbing it on the cloth. So I'm going back with the gray. So if you got a little bit of a blend of colors, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to continue on back and do some gray on the model for the locomotive. Alright, now I'm going to show you. Now if you really think you screw up on something, this is a water, you're still working with acrylic, so you do have a little while that you can actually rub it off, take a wet cloth and rub most of it off if you wanted to. So just try to be careful. But you can see, hopefully you can see right there, where I'm adding streaks. As I come across, it's streaking on down past the rivets. All right, now I'm going to take the smaller brush, and I have a light cinnamon. I'm just using very little of this. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going back and we're dry brushing. So we're taking the cinnamon, filling up the brush totally, and then we're going to wipe it out. Alright, now one thing you may want to do, and this is a trick my buddy of mine told me, is you will take a straight edge, especially when you're doing a single, like trying to get a single line, and you set the straight edge and then just work up and down that straight edge. Like if you try and give a rust streak. Now it's going to be really light, I'm not going to be very dark with it. You can barely see that. I'm not trying to do a heavily weathered. Just an everyday Locomotive. Let's see here. This kind of keeps you, make sure everything's going up and down, because it'd be horrible to have you a streak sideways. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but it's just dry brushed it in, and it comes down. You see where it stops here, about halfway down. But anyway, you can do that wherever you feel like you need to. Now, what I do also, I have a the poly scale rust color, and I do take that and I work it down around the springs. Ooh, sorry, hit the down around the springs on the truck. Now this stuff's a little thinner, so it doesn't, you can't get all of it off. But I hit the springs with that, and that gives them really light color of rust in the springs themselves. And once that dries, I'll come back. That cinnamon's a little darker, and I'll add a little darker red, like it's a little bit more rust than we got here, and hit a couple spots with it. And also, that same light cinnamon, I'll take it and use it on the big brush. Got that little bit of gray in there, which doesn't matter. And just barely hit these bolts down here on the bottom. They catch a little bit, and you get a little rust down here on the. These are in contact with the rail and got a lot of water and stuff kicking up on them. All right, now if you need rust in a seam, you may just take a little bit less off, work it into your panel line there, I guess what you call it. And then come back with the dryer brush and pull it down. You might be able to, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this in the thing, but I'll tell you, it's just playing with it and seeing what you like, what makes it look. And this stuff you just keep adding on top of each other, and you're not adding a whole lot. I mean, if you start feeling that when I first started dry brushing, it wasn't hard to learn. It was just different. You feel like you're not getting anything on there, but you're actually getting a lot more than you realize. Anyway, you just come back and you hit things that you feel like may have a little rust on it, and if it hadn't been done maintenance on this thing in a while, that dry brushing will make those colors pop right out at you. I'm back. I'm using my cinnamon again. Go right here at the seam, and then pull it straight down. And now I'm coming back with that cinnamon. I got a lot more. Oh, ooh, that's a little bit too much. Got more paint on there. According to how rusty you want to look. Just hit a couple spots. You got that other rust on there. You just hit a couple spots and let it. Anyway, I'm not going to go too much more on here. like I said, I was just doing this just to get it to where it doesn't look like it had just rolled out, just pulled it out of the box. I just don't like that look. All right, well, I'm going to finish up on this, and then I will see where I need to go, if anything else I need to go over, and I'll be back in shortly. Okay, here we are getting ready to try to finish up here. What I'm going to show you is one last thing you can do is I've got a bunch of weathering chalk. Well, they're different chalks now. These are the Rembrandt brand chalks. And I got some black. I got some burnt umber. I got several different ones. Anyway, I have. What you do is you take and I'll take the chalks and just take a X-Acto knife and just rake these into a little tray here. The chalks work really good because they'll go into the paint itself. Anyway, right here I've got a raw umber, and I get very little on there, and you can take it and you can add color to it. It makes it look like maybe there's a wash down the side where your washes would normally be, where your water would run down and kind of lighten up that area. You can do whatever you want in there. I don't use too much here. I did use it inside the interior of the cab on the floor itself. Places that you can't, that you're not going to touch a lot, you can use these chalks. I generally have not put a clear coat over them, but you can rub them into where you think the engineers would be walking, kind of rub it in to give a little bit of a dirty look. Anyway, you can go through here and add those, and just to whatever you feel like your locomotive ought to look like. Also, you can, if you get too much on there, you can take a clean brush and you can work some of it off. Once that acrylic paint is dry, you can come back and if you put too much chalk on there, you can work it out with a dry clean brush. Anyway, I hope this has helped. I've only done a couple of these, but I just when I did the first one, I like this technique. It works really well. Like I said, you just go really slow. Don't put just the dry brushing makes it work well. And I'll try to post some pictures on. I'll give you a link to a forum before and after. I mean, to start black and then turn around and come to this. This looks a lot better. It looks like it's been in use for a little while. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and just stay tuned. I'm sure I'll have more videos in the future.